Today's episode is a banger. Today's episode is a straight up banger. It's about energy transmutation, the energy and your divine right to command it mentally, astrally, and physically on all three planes of existence. And in this episode, it's about perspective and the person that we have to literally meet in the mirror, because everything is one, all is one, one is all. And when you're looking within the mirror, you're literally looking at yourself. You're seeing yourself. And if you can understand that paradox, you'll start to understand a lot of things that are going on within your life. The first topic we're going to be diving into is going deep into Christ and what he has to do with energy. Now, God, Christ, the consciousness, where everything exists, where everything starts and ends. It's a circular motion, and it starts with the four seasons. As if we can look at the patterns, it starts with the spark, which is in spring, Aries, and Christ is that perfect example for us, because when we look at Aries, it's the beginning, it's the starting of spring. And what did Christ also say? And we're doing this in comparison. I am the Alpha and I am the Omega, the beginning and the end. What does an energy spiral look like? There is no beginning and there is no ending. And when we look at the seasons, it's all going in a rotation. The energy is flowing. It's moving consistently. It's a spiral. It's moving from the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter, and back again, all in cyclical motion. It never really ends. So when we start to look at it, God is within us. God is within you at your highest point and at your lowest point. One of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. We need to clearly understand we have some demons out there trying to sow defeat and fear. They're demons. That's demon energy. But we have to remember all is one and one is all. And we need to discern what really strengthens who we really are versus what perpetuates the lies that have been fed to us. And I have to say, this book is golden, and I suggest you read it just a little bit, because it'll arm you with the tools so you can go out there and see the tactics that the enemy uses to tell lies to you. Whether you buy into the lie or you don't, look at nature. When someone comes to you and they're doing a dance and telling you all this bullshit, do you believe it or not? That's the real question, because all it is mastery over oneself. Stop lying to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Do the truth. And you will start to produce truth within your life. And what did God say in the Bible? For whosoever believeth in me shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Just this biblical verse alone has a magnitude of power within it. We are eternal beings, projecting ourselves through dimensions and creating life here on earth. And whosoever believes in God's everlasting, eternal word shall not perish, because the word is made flesh. What did it say in the Bible? John 1. In the beginning was the word, the spark, that completedness. Now, when we're going into Hermetic philosophy, we're talking about the 1 through the 9, the beginning and the ending, because everything in consciousness has enough resources to perpetuate and continue its cycle over and over and over again. Who do I identify with? That's a spark. And we're continuing the Bible verse. And the word was with God, presupposing that what comes out is already within. This is universal law of correspondence, as within, so without. And the word was God. Need I say more about this? So I want you to go ahead and chew on that. And I hope you start to get the picture as we start to paint it. Now we're going to start decoding the programs that were dropped on us as children and being able to release them. Now, when you look at a computer, it's loaded up with a whole bunch of programs, and some programs are poorly coded. Some programs were made for a particular situation to take care of a particular task. And you may experience some of these programs as blockages in the flow of energy. So your unconscious mind will find ways to bring it up to the surface to be reorganized. But the human condition, we push it away and stuff it way back down so that it can just come back up, so that it can resurface again and recycle itself. And it's our responsibility of unloading, uninstalling these programs and replacing it with something that is more resourceful for us. And some of these programs, we straight up do not need them anymore because they serve their purpose at that specific point in time. And we need to understand that the unconscious mind is powerful, and the conscious mind only accounts for about 5% of what we can see, feel, and hear and sense. Our perceptions are very limited in this 3D world down here. The unconscious mind has a unique way of bringing things to the surface of the conscious mind so that we can get a sense of the pattern and decide if we want to change that. And the subconscious mind now stores our strengths as well as our weaknesses, and we must be able to decode these weaknesses and bring them to the light and realign them. And every purpose of a coach, every purpose of a mentor, every purpose of a teacher is to get you, or what they're trying to do is to align you. Now, if you're interested, we can definitely make another video on this topic on another day. Just leave a comment below and I'll gladly dive into that for you. I'll do a deeper dive into that. Now, we came into this world and we weren't fully aware that we have everything that we could ever need. You were technically defenseless and you weren't able to know how to recognize the effects, the impact of some of these programs that the schooling system, our parents, our teachers have dropped on us from different angles, whether they were resourceful or not resourceful. And you have to understand that our parents, our family members, our friends, our peers, everyone around us within our particular circle, they didn't know any better and they did the best with what they had. You as well. There is no difference there. You did the best with what you had at that specific moment in that time, up until this particular moment, as I'm speaking to you, as you're hearing my voice, as you're maybe doing something in this particular moment. Your sense of identity depended on the people that were around you for survival. There was a lack of self-awareness of who you really are, but you intuitively, you naturally were already full of bliss and full of wonder and splendor and magic, but you were unable to differentiate the energy of the drivers or the drives of others, of societies, of religion, of your family, all dropped on you between your true authentic voice. So what you had to do was you had to build up a character, an avatar. You programmed your ego, your energy, where it goes, your lower natures. You adopted belief structures. And if you can adopt belief structures, that means you can adopt new belief structures. You adopted value structures. And if you can adopt value structures from other people, you can create and you can adopt new ones that will serve you better. And you adopted some of these value structures in order to feel safe, to fit in, to survive within and in your surroundings. So like gravity, because of the character, the avatar that you've built, you attracted certain situations, ideas, events, and people into your life to show you who you are being. Now, the universe, it loves you unconditionally, but it has to mirror you back to you. And when you have great self-awareness around that, you can begin to shift your perspective and your identity. You can start to shift the things around so that you become an alpha tuning fork. So with this level, you give a charge to a space and time continuum. And the universe, like I said, will reflect you back to you. And it's an expression of who you are currently carrying within yourself, who you think you are. And it's calling you back home to where you belong. And the question is, are you free? Are you in shackles and held in bondage to your old belief system, to your old value system, to your own old behaviors, to your old environment? And the main thing is the night will always fade, and it's our job to let go and just let God. I've always heard that terminology and I never understood it. It never made sense to me until I started to replay it in my mind, to let go and just let God. Let go. Let go of all the other things and be the gods that you are. To be an example to the ones who couldn't show us better, to the ones who are unaware of what they are doing. That's not your job to sit there and penalize and scrutinize what they're doing. You focus on you and do the best that you can do with what you got, and shine a light so bright that they look at you and they're like, oh, wow. This is really important regarding energy work and transmutation, because we get to look at ourselves in the mirror and decide, who do we want to be? The cosmos is law. We operate on universal law, and we suffer because we bring our subjective realities and try to manipulate the law rather than abiding by it. Now, let us go into the next topic and understanding why we attract certain people, ideas, situations, places, and transmuting those. So this ultimately leads to this identity that we created before, leads to a fabricated pattern that produces no fruit. It bears no fruit. And like a song, we play these on repeat over and over and over. You ever listen to that song and you're like, I ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried about nothing. And you keep playing that song in the car. Eventually, your mind is going to pick up the pattern. Your mind is a pattern recognizing machine. You recognize the pattern and you can start to repeat it, and you can start to play it, and you can start to use it for your highest good. And what we tend to do is what is normal, what is comfortable, what is known. When we understand a pattern, we'll have some tendencies to want to stay within that comfortable knowing, even if it's painful sometimes. And sometimes the universe might have to make it so painful that we have to say no more. I don't want that. But that's just human nature. It is human nature. And a lot of people capitalize on that. A lot of people make a shit ton of money off of human nature, off of animal nature, because it's predictable. And when you can predict things, that means you can do certain things to manipulate the energy. And don't be one of those people. Be a person who thinks for themselves. Build a character that can think for themselves and do for themselves. So when we hit challenges, we tend to bounce off of them, and we tend to go back around in circles until we are ready to face ourselves and to traverse into the unknown and begin to accept our limitation and learn how to surpass it, because it's teaching us a greater lesson about ourselves. Now, we're going to go into the fourth topic, which is understanding the distractions that we have to face in all of this to test our resolve. Now, going back into Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, one tactic that the devil uses is something called drifting. And it's to gain access to your mind. And what is universal law numero uno? That the all is mind. And the habit of drifting, which allows us to easily get distracted by tools because we don't have a healthy relationship or boundaries for social media or boundaries for the relationships that we have in our life. We don't have healthy relationships with people, places, and things. And a drifter permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind. So now we have to be able to bring this into the full circle. And it comes down to, who do you want to be? And it's the 180 and the 180, which makes what? The 360. Okay? And it's like a wave pattern. This is about connecting to your heart space and truly acting from that. So when you connect to your heart space, the question I have for you is, what becomes possible for you? And it all leads back to the one, the source within. Endless possibilities. Because when we release, we can begin to find the solutions that source has already perfectly orchestrated. We receive and become one with the person who already has the solutions. And that wraps up today's episode. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this broadcast to reconnect you with the badass that you are, the endless possibilities that you are. And I'm releasing episodes bi-weekly, and I'm your cosmic brother, and we're going to keep having fun as we dive into more topics that will challenge you to go deeper into who you already are, so that you can show up as a badass that you already are. And we're talking occult sciences. We're talking about shadow work. We're talking about energetics. We're talking about alchemy. We're talking about magic with a K, and becoming sovereign beings, living as highly sensitive and empaths on this earth, to tap into your natural gifts, to tap into your authentic nature. And remember, this is always going to be deep. And as usual, stay balanced.